HARK, we are here. It is time for yet another episode of Regroup Phase. A little bit of a shorter one this week. Not too many cards to talk about, but we do have a card from the beginning of last week, as well as the remainder of the stuff that we're going to be talking about, which is at least one new leader, a couple of units, and then during the live stream that happened last week, the Xander and some of the people that are part of the FFG team went over the contents of the Carbonite booster pack specifically. So it's going to iterate a little bit more on what we talked about last week with the pictures of the booster packs themselves and some of the information that comes with that. So lots of fun stuff to go over. This should be airing after a Gamegenic stream. So we're going to talk about something that happened during that stream, but technically I have the information beforehand. Beyond that, though, hopefully you all had fun with that and you're watching this video afterwards to get all the extra information about previews that happened in the last week. So without any further ado, let's get cracking. We're going to start off here with the card that I talked about having been previewed before my video aired last week. To start off our previews this week, so we have General Draven doing what must be done. This is a 5-cost command ground unit, 2 power, 5 health, rebel official. When played and on attack, create an X-Wing token. So that's the same thing as the Clone Troopers, except instead of it being a ground unit, it's a space unit. It's not Republic, it's just a fighter and a vehicle, and it is 2/2. This is a rare from JTL number 113 out of 262, I believe that is. I should get these numbers correct before I do this. But regardless, you guys don't care about numbers. You care about what this card is and what it does. Well, General Draven gives you X-Wings. It is unfortunate that the X-Wings are not Rebel tied, but at least this Rebel official will give you, when it's played, an X-Wing token, and every time he attacks, an X-Wing token as well, which will help you generate your Space Force to be able to help push some pressure on your opponent's base or be able to knock out some of your opponent's units that are in space, and there are going to be a lot of space units in this set. Obviously, this, because it's in command, every card that's in command gets a comparison to what it does with ECL. This is actually a very good ECL target because it allows you to attack into something that's on your opponent's side of the board. Sure, it only does 2 damage, but it is generating you 4/4 worth of value, 2/2/2s. When you do that, utilizing the ECL ability for just 5 resources, and honestly, that's pretty good. Probably one of the better uses of ECL if you want to get some board advantage and you're not necessarily looking to completely clear off your opponent's stuff. And because he does have 5 health, he will survive a lot, but not everything. So be careful of your ambush targets when you use ECL with General Draven. Next up, we have the first of what I believe is many, and what I hope is many first order characters in Jump to Lightspeed. We have a character that was very present in The Rise of Skywalker. We have Allegiant General Pryde. It's a 2-cost aggression villainy ground unit, ruthless and loyal. 2 power, 3 health, first order official. When indirect damage is dealt to a unit, you may defeat a non-unique upgrade on it. On attack, if you have the initiative, deal 2 indirect damage to a player. This is a rare number 133 out of 262 in JTL. Super happy to see indirect damage as a component of First Order. I hope that, or at least given with this card, I know it's one card and one card a theme does not make, as evident by many of the things we've seen in the game so far. My hope is that the First Order does have a very significant indirect damage presence. Lots of cool stuff can be done with that. It probably won't mesh too well with the Kylo Ren that we got from set 2, but if it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, hopefully we get a new First Order leader. I do believe there will be a Captain Phasma leader coming, which we'll talk a little bit about when we get to the Gamegenic products, but we have a competent, basically 2-drop that's going to give you a body on the board. It's not the best body, but it does pump up what you're capable of with indirect damage. If you are attacking with him, basically on round 2, and you have the initiative, which if you went first, that's probably easy to keep. You get to deal 2 damage to indirect damage to a player, and then when your opponent damages something that has a non-unique upgrade, like an experience or a shield or a lightsaber that's not named, or like Nameless Valor, things like that, you can defeat the upgrade on it, which is quite good. 3 of these probably in every aggression indirect damage deck. But beyond that, hopefully 3 of these in every First Order deck. And I'm super excited to see what the First Order has up for grabs. Next up, we have a preview from the FFG livestream about Carbonite booster packs. You're going to see this in the art of the Prestige frame from the Carbonite booster packs, which is actually really cool. And so far, this is actually one of my favorite cards that we've seen. I know we haven't seen too many, but this is a really neat card, and what it does, it really shifts the dynamic of what can be done in this game. And it also represents a very cool moment from a movie that was very fun to experience both in the theaters and at home theater. We have Blue Leader, Scarif Air Support. This is a 3-cost command heroism space unit. Rebel Vehicle Fighter. This has Ambush. It is a 3/3. When played, you may pay 2 resources. If you do, move this unit to the ground arena and give 2 experience tokens in it. This is an uncommon. The number of the actual unit itself I'm not sure is, but the prestige frame card is number 1062 in JTL. Again, you guys don't care about the card numbers, but Blue Leader is actually really cool. I believe the character's name is Anton Yurik. He was the pilot that led the Scarif attack once Rogue One landed and was able to do their thing and the Rebel support flew in. The fact that this thing is a 3/3 with ambush space unit for 3 is quite good, but for 5 it can end up being a 5/5 ground ambusher while not being a ground unit, which is a very interesting distinction and allows you to do some really cool stuff with it. Before we go any further with this card specifically, I'm hoping we get a U-Wing that does the same thing but in reverse, can end up being a lower cost ground unit that ends up being a higher powered, higher cost unit in space. It doesn't necessarily have to have ambush, but it'd be cool if it did something like that. I do like U-Wing reinforcement, but I would also love to have actual U-Wings in the deck to play as units on the board. So Blue Leader being a 3-cost 3/3 in space, it's a tiny bit undercurved. We see a lot of 3/4s or 4/3s or whatever the case may be, or other things that have a lot better bonuses. It does have ambush, so it can help you clear out things like Red 3 or Green Squadron A-Wing. If you end up paying 5, or if you U-Wing this into play and pay 2 more after the U-Wing, this can come into play as a 5/5 ground unit that also has ambush, which is quite interesting. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this. The fact that it's also a space unit in ground means that it dodges ground unit only cards, things that deal damage to only ground units. So remember that when you're playing Blue Leader to the ground arena, because it means that there are things that you can do with this that dodge the normal damage packets or whatever the case may be for things that target specifically ground units, which, you know, is really cool. Blue Leader, very cool card. The regular art of this is also pretty cool. You can find that out on the internet. But this prestige art is really cool. This is one of the frames that we'll see as part of the Carbonite Booster Pack series, which we'll talk a little bit later. But as it is, Blue Leader, fantastic card, a great start, and only an uncommon to some of the cool cards that we get to see in Jump to Lightspeed. Next up, we have our first official leader. Technically, we had the Asajj Ventress preview on the Tuesday of last week. But because we've already seen Ventress and talked about her, we're going to talk about the first official new leader that we've seen since the starter deck previews. And he's an interesting one. We have here Wedge Antilles, leader of Red Squadron, our command heroism common leader, number 8 out of 262 in JTL. He is a Rebel pilot. Fantastic. Love to see Rebel. Action, exhaust the leader. Play a card from your hand using piloting. It costs 1 less. So that's pretty good. As an epic action on 5 or more, he can deploy into a 3/6 leader, or he can deploy as a pilot to a friendly vehicle without a pilot as a +3/+4. What does Wedge do on his unit side? Well, the unit itself does literally nothing. Just a 3/6 for 5. Cool. But when you attach it to a vehicle, attached unit is a leader unit, and it gains on attack the next pilot card you play. This phase costs 1 less. This includes piloting costs. So it's not specifically just piloting. It is any card that has the pilot trait gets -1 cost. +3 power, +4 health. Really cool ability to be able to dump that extra power and health onto one of your vehicles that's out there. You can throw it on an X-Wing. You can throw it on Millennium Falcon. Any of your vehicles that you want to attach this to can be cool. Plus you get discounts on pilots, including piloting. Wedge is an interesting leader. He is a Rebel. He's the same cost as Leia, actually has the same power and health as Leia does, but less effectiveness overall for the Rebel strategy specifically, but a little bit more utility in what he's capable of doing that's not restricted to just having Rebels on the board and hoping you can get her 4 power through with the raid 1 and be able to attack with another Rebel thereafter. I'm still very wary of piloting. I think piloting is really neat. It is a very neat mechanic. It might be super fun in casual games and probably pretty cool in Twin Suns, but because we already know that these things are upgrades and they don't have any of their unit abilities while they're attached as upgrades because they're upgrades, not units. They're very susceptible to two forms of removal, unit removal and upgrade removal. And we already know that most upgrades are pretty much not played unless it's like a fallen lightsaber that Kylo Ren wants to play because he can force that damage through, or Darksaber with Sabine just happens to be a perfect pairing. Sometimes people play the Jedi lightsaber or Luke's lightsaber for the extra utility it does, but not necessarily expecting that you're going to be able to get too much off of it. And then we know Bosk uses his upgrades but even with that, that's a bounty upgrade that he's going to be clearing off your opponent's side of the board anyway. So there's a major danger that piloting has in this set, and I'm a little disappointed that it seems like piloting is so easy to defeat for yet another theme that is an entire set is designed around. So hopefully the devs took that into consideration. I honestly feel they did not take that into consideration with things like coordinate and exploits, but maybe things could be different with piloting. Who knows? As it stands, Wedge is an actually really cool leader, probably going to be one of the first leaders I try out unless something else happens. But if Wedge doesn't end up doing what I want it to do, there's always Leia and Command Heroism, and who knows what the other Command Heroism leader is going to end up being. And our last preview for this preview period is a card that I'm sure a lot of people were expecting, but I bet you they weren't expecting specifically what this character does. We have Anakin Skywalker. I'll try spinning. This is a 2-cost Cunning Heroism ground unit, 2 power, 3 health. Piloting for 2 Cunning Heroism. You may play this as an upgrade to honor-friendly vehicle without pilots. When attached unit completes an attack and survives, great reminder text because this is one that a lot of people miss, you may return this upgrade to its owner's hand. This Anakin Skywalker gives +2/+3, so +2 power, +3 health to a vehicle that it's piloting. He has the Force, Fringe, and Pilot traits. He's an uncommon number 197 out of 262 in JTL. Right off the bat, this is another 2-cost Cunning Force unit, or even just a 2-cost Force unit. So remember that when you're thinking about what you want to use a Force, whether it's like Force Throw or use the Force trait for, now there are 2 of them to be able to drop another Force thing, but he's also got Fringe and he's also got Pilot. So those are other interesting things that we might see be useful with now there are 2 of them later on. You always got to keep now there are 2 of them in mind. But Anakin drops by himself as a 2/3. That's respectable-ish stats, but because he is Force, it does allow him to do some interesting things. And then as a pilot, what you can do is you can have your vehicle first round. Round 2, pilot Anakin onto the vehicle, use your attack. As long as you survive, you get to pull him back to hand to be able to use him later on, or use him as another unit again later on. There's a lot of interesting utility that Anakin can use inside the game, whether it's piloting to give some extra damage and stay there, bounce back to his hand to become another pilot for another vehicle, or bounce back to a hand, become another unit on the board to be able to push damage on a later turn. One of the interesting things I think is probably going to end up happening is that this is going to be a vehicle bounce strategy where you place Anakin on one vehicle, attack, bounce him back to his hand, bounce him back to your hand, play him on another vehicle, attack, and bounce him back, and then lather, rinse, repeat on the next turn. Yes, that costs 4 resources a turn or more if you're doing it with more vehicles, but if you can get those tokens out and they survive the attacks, you can pump a lot of damage into your opponent's base that your opponent can't really do anything about unless they can eliminate the vehicles before they attack. So interesting strategy. He's going to spin. Let's try spinning. On January 8th, Wednesday, FFG came to us live with a Carbonite Edition booster pack stream. We had Xander, Danny, and Mercedes Ofim. I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. We had some interesting information about the Carbonite Edition booster. We already saw the preview that they gave us of Blue Leader. Let's check out what else specifically is part of this group of things that we have been given to check out for the Carbonite booster. We have here a visual breakdown of the thing we talked about last week. We do get the Hyperspace or Showcase Leader. We get 7 foils. This does include 1 rare or legendary. We have the Prestige frame. We can see that Prestige Millennium Falcon. We'll see that here in just a second, a little bit bigger image of that. We have 5 hyperspace cards. I believe this was 1 also rare or legendary, and then we have 2 hyperspace foils. There, like I said, no specific breakdown of what you're expected to see in terms of rares, commons, uncommons, or legendaries for foils and hyperspace and hyperfoils, but we will always get at least 1 prestige and 1 hyperspace or showcase leader. For the information that I had it was 1 out of every 2 displays will have a showcase leader. So if you're really chasing showcases, this product is going to be what you're going to want to be chasing, although it is very, very, very limited. So be aware of that. We talked about the breakdown of what it was. This product is designed for collectors. So if you're a collector, this is perfect for you. But in terms of what we're going to be looking at here, we were given 2 examples of the way the breakdown of prestige cards work in the booster pack itself. So you see the Fett's Fire Spray here, which is already our special / starter thing, Spotlight this time. It's one of the cards that comes in the Fett deck. We have here a regular version of the prestige card. This is unfoiled. We also have a shot at a foiled version of it. You can't see the foil here, but that was what they were using to describe what it was going to be. And then we have a serialized version of the card. It looks like each of these are going to be out of 250. So much like Magic has done with its serialized cards, we're probably not going to see any one rings like that in this, but it looks like these cards are going to be limited to 250 in the gold super foiling. I believe the foiling for the Fet's Fire Spray and all of these prestige cards is the same surge foiling that we have for the judge cards and the OP pack cards, which is super fantastic. Surge foiling is absolutely incredible. It's less prone to curling, which is also super good. Lots of fun stuff. They do have different art for the prestige variants, so you can potentially pick up multiple different arts or multiple different cards depending on what you're looking for. And then we also have the Millennium Falcon here, which that is a beautiful art. I might have to try to chase down some of these prestige Millennium Falcons. Definitely going to need to chase down that prestige blue leader because I believe that art is much better, or at least for me, than the standard blue leader card. But I know a lot of people are pretty down on serialized cards in games. It just makes a lot of this other stuff accessible to us because it means that people are going to be opening them for these cards and then pushing these out to the secondary market, which makes them cheaper because there's going to be a lot of them there. And I think it's a win-win. Collectors get something cool to chase. People who are just like, I want to open cool stuff, get cool stuff. And then people who want to buy singles, get singles for cheap. And the chase is going to be for these numbered serialized cards. And the rest of us can kind of gather up whatever it is we want. Plus, there's also just the regular versions of cards that come in the starters and the boosters, so there isn't really too much to worry about. I think this is a great addition. I like it. I think it's cool. I think the reaction to it, the negative reaction to it, is way overblown. Cool stuff is cool. That's pretty much all I got to say about it. Our last little bit of information here is going to be some Gamegenic stuff that I've seen before the Gamegenic stream, so you're not going to hear the big announcement that just happened. Literally, my video is coming out an hour after the Gamegenic stream starts. But there is some cool things here that we can take a look at, and then we'll cover what the big announcement was next week, along with any previews that come as a result of the week of this airing. It's a process, guys, so we got to do with what we got, right? So right off the bat, we have 3 new iconic soft crates. We have the showcase, not the showcase, the Spotlight, Han Solo Spotlight, Boba Fett in their piloting uniforms, piloting situations, not uniforms, whatever. And then we have Captain Phasma. Super excited to see her on the other side of this. It is a First Order Stormtrooper, and then the ships for each of these characters. It's pretty cool. I'll probably have to pick up one of these soft crates, maybe. I don't know. I actually haven't been using my soft crates as much as I thought I was going to. It's kind of hard to utilize them when you're using the double sleeves. There's just enough room to be able to put your 60 card layout plus the base and your leader, but you can't put the slide case in there if you're doing double sleeve, stuff like that. I'm a mess. It's messy for me. I'd rather just use the deck pods, but these are really cool. And if you manage to be able to get these, they're really cool. Like, I'm still probably going to buy that Captain Phasma one because it's Captain Phasma. Next up, we have art sleeves, which are coming to us. We have a First Order Stormtrooper, the Han and the Boba Fett. We have an orange blade and a magenta blade, and we have this amazing It's a Trap Akbar, which if this is not an event called It's a Trap, what are we even doing here? But these are really cool. I'm sure this is a new emote on your emoji on your Discord server that you're a part of, if you're a part of any of those. Lots of fantastic stuff here. I'm going to pick up a bunch of these First Order Stormtroopers. I'm a big First Order fan. They're just cool. And then last but not least, this is our new set of tokens. This was information that was posted on Twitter and Blue Sky. One of the cool things here is that we do have double sides for what looks like to be the damage counters. We've got ones with 3s on the back. We got 5s, 10s on the back, and then these 4 down here should also be double-sided. Shield, experience token, epic action, and then reminder. I don't know if the initiative token is going to be double-sided. It could. There's nothing on the backside of the normal ones that we have. And then these guys here, which I don't believe are going to be double-sided because that's not entirely necessary. But having the ability to go 1, flip to 3, 5, flip to 10, it's going to make my life a lot easier. I've already got this on pre-order with my store. And this is the Premium Tokens Pro. So it is probably going to be a tiny bit more expensive than the original ones were. And they're going to come in this little box, hopefully, and not the plastic that they did before. Super fun stuff. Plus, whatever it is they specifically announced. There are mats out there. We'll cover them in the next episode so I can get a better image of them. So it's not just the normal thing. But there's a really cool one of an AT-AT being destroyed or attacking somewhere. I can't remember if it was Hoth or Scarif, but super cool. Really cool mats. They're only doing 4 mats, and but they ended up doing 3 soft crates and 6 sets of sleeves, which is pretty cool. And then these damage tokens, which is super, super fun. So there's your Gamegenic products for the week. And there you have it. That's our quick coverage of the week. Cool leader in Wedge next week, next week we'll have 2 leaders to preview, hopefully a bunch of cards. Like I said, I love that blue leader. Gamegenic stuff is super cool. Allegiant General Pryde, it's going to be really cool bringing First Order stuff to the forefront. Hopefully we get to see some more indirect damage things. We already had some stuff with the Fett deck. And it looks like indirect damage might be not limited to villains, but is going to be very highly focused in villains. I'm sure there'll be some neutral and a little bit of heroism stuff that does indirect damage. But hopefully we get some cool stuff coming soon for us with Jump to Light Speed. Lots of really fun stuff happening, more fun stuff coming up. We're also right in the middle of PQ season, so that's all stuff that's kind of happening at the moment right now. But great stuff. That's all we have for the week. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you hit that like button down there somewhere, wherever it is. Also comment on this video, whatever your favorite thing of the week was, whether it's a preview, whether it's Gamegenic stuff, whether it's Carbonite booster pack. Let me know in the comments below why you think I'm wrong about Carbonite booster packs, because that's definitely something we should talk about. Make sure you subscribe to the Star Wars Unlimited channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. I have been RybackStun. You have been my amazing audience. That's all I've got for this week, and I'll see you in Lightspeed.